Good morning, students. So till now, I think you'll be able to have a very good idea about law of contract, the sale of goods act, the initial part which we discussed about the term sales, essential conditions of the term sale, the sale and agreement to sell, those kind of stuff. Right? Next is we will be moving to the next important topic, which is goods category, chapter number 2, the sale of goods act. Goods category, chapter number 2. What is the goods category that we actually deal with? When we say sale of goods act, there is essentially a need for certain goods. What is a goods? Goods become the subject matter of the contract of sale. What is subject matter again? That which forms the crux of the contract of sale, without which there cannot be any sale. It is actually the very important element in the contract of sale. Goods is very important element in the contract of sale. Element means the crux, the very purpose, the subject matter, etc. Right? So whenever when we talk about the term goods, it has to be of some form or the other. Then only we can categorize the term goods and we can make them accessible, or we make them a subject matter, or we will make them a property that will be categorized as a basic criteria becoming eligible for the sale of goods act 1930. When we say sale of goods act 1930, the term goods, how are we interpreting? What is interpretation? Interpretation means the way we actually take, the way we actually assimilate, the way we actually undertake, or we actually try to assimilate the concept into our mind. That is called interpretation. When you say interpretation, it is nothing but you are trying to assimilate the concept, understand the concept of the goods, and make also others understand about the concept of goods. So this interpretation is primarily how we actually analyze, take into the meaning of the term goods, and how we actually interpret, how we actually take the goods as per our own opinion or self-owned advice. Right? It is actually goods which forms subject matter of the contract. As I said, goods is the primary crux or the element of the contract. Without that, there cannot be any contract of sale. When you say goods, Sale of Goods Act 1930 has tried to make a very clean definition of the term goods, though it is not clear in 100% perspective, yet it is still attempt to make the definition of the term goods. Yes, it is fine. When we say compared to generic definitions, they have tried to cover most of the things within the term goods, and they have also tried to categorize as movable, etc. So we will slowly try to go into one by one. So the term goods, what is that they are saying? Every section starts with the definition under section 2. You can always take section 2 as a definition part. All the acts, whatever the legislation that is passed in India, that will have the starting section as section 2. Section 2 always defines the term goods here. So here the term goods is defined under section 2 of the Sale of Goods Act 1930. In this legislation, in this act, section 2 deals with goods. Every kind of movable property, what is they say? Every kind of movable property, like what I said in coercion, like what I said in undue influence. Whenever a longer definition like this is happening, right, it is very important that we need to cut and short, make it into pieces, bits, and then try to understand the definition. Then it is easy for you to remember the definition, right? So you need to be very clear about how we need to remember the definition, understand the definition of the concept. So let us go one by one, cut short into pieces and understand. It's very easy to, once we have a complete idea, it becomes an easy concept. Every kind of movable property, what does it mean? Every kind of movable property, all categories, all the nature, all the types of properties which are capable of movement from one place to another, which are capable of moving from one region to another, which are capable of changing from one portion to another, and those kind of things are called movable property. Example, car. Those are the examples of movable property. So every kind of movable property other than actionable claims of money. So as I said earlier, in every law there is a primary rule, there is always an exception rule. Without that cannot be any law. Whenever see a primary rule that actually tries to define the definition of the term, the goods, and other than, when you say other than, that is what is categorized under exception category. Other than these two remaining are all goods. What are those two? Those two are the actionable claims of money. Whenever you are going to claim any money which is actionable in the court of law, and that money is due to you, is a kind of a receivable to you, that is not form part of the term goods. and money of that character which is measurable and then which is is monetary nature, those kind of things cannot be a part of your currency notes and coins are examples of money. Checks, negotiable instruments are examples of money, and the documents of any other monetary character forms of money. So actionable claims and money do not form actionable claims and the money. So both these two will not be a part of the term goods, but it includes every kind of movable property. So it's a generic definition. At the top, it's a very generic and a very clear thing. Every kind of movable property other than actionable claims and money. When you go to the subdivision, the second part of it, and includes. What does it include? It tries to make it inclusive. In all the acts, you have to understand, every definition will have inclusive definition as well as exclusive definition. When you try to say exclusive definition, that which excludes, they say excludes. When it starts with the word excludes, it's exclusive definition. When it starts with the word within the phrase includes, it means inclusive definition. When you try to make inclusive definition, that includes the shares and the stocks. Any shares, any securities, any financial instruments, and those categories will form part of the stock. Any shares which are fully paid up are stocks. Shares of any other category will form part of the shares. When you say shares, it is not fully paid up. It may be fully paid up or partly paid up, but a consolidation of more than one share which is fully paid up will become a stock, whereas shares assets in isolation will be shares. So that is what is the difference between shares and the stocks. Growing crops means those which are protruding from the agricultural land, which are growing, which are the preliminary stage before it matures into the tree. Those crops which are emanating from the seed, grasses, those kind of things which are protruding from the basic agricultural land. The sprouts, the small cripples, clippings and siblings are what I say. Those kind of things which are actually cripples and siblings, growing crops, seeds, grass, trees and things attached to forming part of the land. Wherever we are, any things which are attached to or in one way or the other related to the land, or that which are coming out of the land or annexed to or a part of the land, those kind of things are a part of sale definition, goods definition, and which are agreed to be entered into before or under the contract of sale. Either can be this part of agreed to be severed means they are going to be separated. Severed means separated. They are agreed to be severed or separated before or under the contract of sale. So anything which are forming part of the land, they are going to be separated after they are protruding, after they are produced separated, and then they are distributed to the end customer either before the sale or under the contract of sale. So this is a very clear definition which is given. So every kind of movable property other than actionable claims and money, and includes stocks and the shares, growing crops, grasses, trees and things, and those attached to forming part of the land which are agreed to be severed before sale under contract of sale. So this is a definition of the term goods. So it will be very, very clear. So whenever a category like goods comes into your purview, you need to match with this definition of the Sale of Goods Act and then find out whether the goods is part of the Sale of Goods Act or any other act. When it comes to Sale of Goods Act alone, for an item to get categorized as a goods, it has to fulfill or to deliver the following conditions. These conditions must be satisfied. So if these conditions are satisfied, then it comes to the definition of the term goods. If these conditions are not satisfied, then they are not forming part of the goods. Especially under Sale of Goods Act, it is not goods. It may be goods under any other act, but under Sale of Goods Act, these conditions must be satisfied, not to categorize as goods. So it's a broader explanation that I have given for the goods. Then you come to the second part of the term, it is goods types. Types means means of or manner of or the way of classification. Various ways, various types, various kinds of goods which are available under Sale of Goods Act. Goods which are classified under existing goods, future goods, ascertained goods. Goods are classified into three types: existing, future, ascertained goods. Basically speaking, ascertained can also be part of existing goods. So if we literally speaking, the main classification is existing and future goods. That is called present goods, and the second is called the future goods. Existing is also known as present goods. So here, existing goods and present goods are again subclassified into three types. One is specific goods, the second is unascertained goods, and third is unascertained goods. Specific, ascertained and unascertained goods are three subcategories within existing. So in existing, when we go to specific goods, what is specific goods? Those which are identified, agreed upon at the time of contract of sale, which I know and they are existing at the time of contract of sale. It would be very, very clear. Goods which are available, identified and the existing at the time when you put into a contract of sale, thus those goods are called existing goods. Typically an example goes in the way, there are 25 tables which are there. You are going to sell only one table. So that one table is available among the 25 tables, it is available at the place where you are going to sell. There are 25 tables there, and out of this 25 tables, one table is you are going to sell. So that table you are specifically selling only one table. You are not selling all the 25 tables. It is not a specific goods. So you are going to be very specific in selling the item. So specific means sale of one table. Specific means you are specifying one table. Therefore, it is said to be specific goods. You are so specific in identifying and selling one table. Therefore, it is called specific goods. Ascertained goods. What does it mean? Ascertained goods, which are identified, agreed upon in terms of quality, quantity, the nature, the characteristic, the functions, etc. as identified, agreed upon with the customer, and they are going to be sold with the customer. The ascertained goods are example is, out of 200 tables, you are going to sell out 25 selected chairs. You are going to make from the big lot, for example, the total big lot of 200, you may be having a big lot, 300, 400, 500 lot of tables. Out of that, you are going to identify 25 tables. These 25 tables are identified in peculiar with respect to characteristic features, with respect to quality, quantity, the shining element, etc. And then you are going to make the sale. So you are going to identify, agree upon with the customer, and going to sell the goods. It is called identified and ascertained goods. Unascertained goods. Unascertained goods are those categories where you are not ascertaining any kind of a goods right now, but you are going to produce it in the future. You are going to manufacture in the future. So those goods are called unascertained goods. You are not going to produce now. Please understand, you are going to produce it at a future point of time. So those goods are called unascertained goods. Best example is apples, mangoes, which are going to be produced in your garden 1 year later. You are an agricultural produce company, you are going to produce apples and mangoes and any kind of fruits which are going to be produced in your garden, not now, after 1 year, to meet the demands of the customers. To meet the demand of the customers who are requiring fruits every day, so you are going to produce it right now or even after 1 year. But there may be a case where your juice industry is going to come, you are going to supply your fruits for the purpose of juice industry, so they are going to take your fruits and they are going to manufacture juices. They are going to manufacture sauces, etc., fruit sauces, etc. So those kind of things where you want to produce your product in your garden, but right now you are not going to sell, but you are going to produce it, even produce it after 1 year, because the demand is going to come only after 1 year. You are going to produce it after 1 year. There is no point in producing now, because if you produce an apple now, but the demand will come 1 year later, the apples will only get wasted, because it will only get produced and it will remain unused. So ultimately it will decay or it will get out of use, because the demand will come only after 1 year. So these are the examples where it is called unascertained goods, goods which are produced after 1 year, unascertained goods. 25 chairs selected out of the total big lot, 200 tables you are going to sell, it is called ascertained goods. And this out of 25 tables you are going to select and give only one, make a very specific sale of only one table, that is called specific goods. So specific goods, ascertained goods and unascertained goods are the three basic categories of existing goods. Students, let's move to the next topic. Future goods are contingent goods. Future goods or contingent goods are those which will be acquired by the seller at a later point of time. It is not readily available for the seller to acquire it. He may have to place an order, he may have to produce it later. If he is going to be a producer seller, which means that he is a producer at the same time he is the seller. In that case, what happens? There may be an order from the buyer, but he may not have readily available goods. So he has to produce it, he has to manufacture it, and then fix a date, test the product, inspect the product, everything is fine, then fix a date and then sell the product. So this is what he has to do. So if there is a producer as well as a seller being the same person, he has to produce it and sell. Okay? Because he doesn't have a product right now available. Second case is, there may be a manufacturer at one point of time, he is only the manufacturer, he is only the producer. The person who is a supplier goes to manufacturer and then places an order based on buyer order. Buyer first places order with the seller. Seller being the wholesaler, he goes and places it with the manufacturer. Manufacturer will produce it and give to the supplier, and then supplier will have to go to the customer and place the product. So this is an interdependency which is available, because the seller doesn't have, because the supplier or the person doesn't have any product readily available as and when the buyer places an order. He has to depend upon the manufacturer or the producer to produce the product. and then he has to follow for the product, test the product, inspect the product, readily available, then probably he has to sell it to the customer. The best example is in this case is whenever you place an order in Amazon, Flipkart or a Snapdeal kind of things, where the products are, when you place an order, it may be available. You may have the various quality, quantity, those elements are there readily available in the website when you actually browse it in the website, or you have an app kind of thing, you just log in into the app and you are going to select the product. Whichever you want, whichever you like, or whichever you want to purchase, right? So when you make a selection of the product, once you submit, click on the submit button, there may be instances where the Amazon or any other person would say, sir, the product is not readily available, product is not readily deliverable. It may take 5 to 7 days to deliver because the order has to be placed with the manufacturer, like that. You will find a kind of a thing where an instruction message to the customer that your order is taken, but it will take some 5 to 7 days to deliver because we don't have product right now. We have to depend upon the manufacturer to get it done, or any other supplier where you have to place an order with another supplier to get you the product. So these are the cases where the acquisition of the goods by the seller himself will have to be dependent upon after the contract of the sale is made. Seller will acquire it, but after the contract of sale he will acquire it. But the goods are not readily available with it. That's a problem. Best example is future crops, future eggs, etc. Where you are going to produce an egg in the future after 3 months or 4 months. You are going to put a egg farm, you are going to produce a crop farm. So you have to produce your crop, you have to produce your grasses, etc. for meeting the future needs of the customers or agricultural customers, or even eggs you are going to produce for meeting the future poultry farm needs, etc. In that case, the best example is future goods, where you are going to produce it, or you are going to produce it after 1 month, or the seller is going to acquire it after contract of sale. But right now goods are not available, even at a future point of time they will be acquired. So this is called future goods or contingent goods. So present goods and future goods are the two classification. Present we discussed, it is divided into three categories. One is specific, ascertained and unascertained goods. And the future goods are also known as contingent goods, is the second category where we discuss with the help of an example right now. Right? Clear? Then we are going to discuss about the concept doctrine of caveat emptor. What does it mean, caveat emptor? Caveat emptor means let the buyers be aware. Let the buyers beware. We call this let the buyers be aware. What does it mean, let the buyers be aware? For example, if I am going to buy a product, I may go to a particular electronic shop. Right now the musical equipments like iPods or MP3 players are very popular. Everybody is stressed in their life. So every student or every person, even a person who is an office going person or any other adult person or any person who is doing some kind of business or etc. Right? Every people in this world will be stressed at one point of time. So they want to hear music, they want to hear good devotional music or any Carnatic music or normal cinema songs, etc. They want to, for example, a particular buyer wants to go and purchase a MP3 player just to relax himself. He wants to hear some good songs, melody songs, good kind of a melody kind of a song, so that he will get relaxed. He goes to the shop, he buys an MP3 player. MP3 player is worth around 18,000 or 20,000. He wants to buy a very good quality MP3 player, maybe a Transcend or a Philips kind of a player, where Philips or Transcend is a very good company, branded company. You are going to buy that MP3 player. But this MP3 player, what does it is going to satisfy you? It is going to give you some kind of a melodious music. It is going to keep you free from stress and all worries. That is why the purpose why you are actually buying the product. That is why you need to understand the purpose why you are buying the product. You need to relax yourself. You need to be from tensions and all worries. That is why you are going to hear a beautiful melody song or cinema song. You are going to buy an MP3 player. So he goes to the shop and he actually places an order for the MP3 player, and the shopkeeper goes inside the shop. He is going to find out what is the product that is available. He takes 3 or 4 products as a sample, comes near the table and he places it. The supplier, the buyer actually what happens is he has to choose the product whichever is good. Whichever is good. How does he do so? The buyer must take responsibility for this, because he is the person who wants the product and just for his tension removal or for his own purpose he is going to buy the product. How he has to ensure that the product is of good quality? How can he ensure? He can ask by putting a sample battery into the MP3 player, and then he can actually ask him to download a small song. It is possible, or otherwise if there is any FM player which is available, he can actually put a battery into that, ask the shopkeeper to on the FM player, and then see whether the quality is good, whether the sound effects is good, the song is coming out nicely. Those kind of things will help the buyer to just satisfy himself that the product which he is actually buying will serve his purpose, will serve the ultimate purpose of buying the product. So who is now responsible? The buyer is responsible for making proper choice. If the buyer makes a wrong judgment, like for example, if he goes meet the shopkeeper just like that gives a product, he goes and takes the product and walks away. He doesn't even test the product. The best example in our practical life, very simple example in our practical life, we go and buy a tube light for our house use. We are going to buy a tube light. What we will do? We will go and buy the tube light, ask the electronic shopkeeper to put 2 or more sample wires into the plug and also check with whether the tube is working or not. That kind of basic check is absolutely necessary. He cannot give a default tube and say, and he may be happy, because the moment you are going to buy a tube, you are going to take the money from your packet, give it to him, and you are going to walk away. So it is not his fault, it is your fault, because you need to be very clear in buying and selecting the product. If you make a default, if you make a mistake in your judgment means if you are making a wrong purchase, you must be responsible, seller is not responsible. So the law fixes responsibility on the buyer, and that is why it is called the law of caveat emptor, which means let the buyers be aware. So here, the buyer has to satisfy himself about the quality, goods, quantity, etc. Goods, what is the quality, what is the goods that he is dealing with, what is the quantity, what is the quality, what is the image, what is the color, what is the price. Will it be going to serve his function? Will it be going to taste? Will it be going to satisfy his taste? Will it be to satisfy the purpose why he is going to buy the product? Who is responsible now? The seller is not responsible. Buyer has to be responsible, because buyer is buying the product and it has to be enjoyed by the buyer after purchase. He should not give a curse to the seller after purchase, right? He cannot be shouting the seller after purchase. He has to satisfy himself. He has to happily buy the product, and seller has to happily sell the product. So that should be the relationship. After buying, you should not scold the seller. So the buyer has to satisfy himself about the good quality, quantity, etc. Goods, quality, quantity, price, feature, functions, etc. Second is, it must be suited for the buyer's purpose. That is why I say the buyer is buying for this purpose, I know. So it is up to the buyer to 100% check whether it is working functionally, properly, it is working properly, etc. So that it will be happy, that he will be happy that he has made a very good purchase. Okay. Third is, if the buyer makes a mistake by judgment, which means that if he is not buying the right product, or the product that is being offered is not of a good quality, quantity, it is the buyer who is going to suffer. That is what we call, in popular English proverb, every person's action, every person's outcome is probably his own actions. The karma is his own actions. That is what we call. So every person's act, it is his own actions that decides the karma. So that is why it's the same way. If the buyer makes a default, if the buyer makes a problem, makes a judgment, mistake in judgment, it is only he who has to blame himself. He cannot blame the seller, because he knows the purpose. He needs to be very cautious. He needs to be very careful in ensuring that the buyer makes it for the particular purpose. If the purpose is known, but he doesn't make a proper judgment, or he fails in making the judgment, or makes a bad purchase, nobody is to be blamed except the buyer. Buyer alone is to be responsible. This is the principle which is strictly enlisted in doctrine of caveat emptor. Doctrine of caveat emptor. We have exceptions. What is the exception here? You need to be very clear in understanding the exceptions. Every rule, as I said, every law will have a mean rule as well as there is a sub rule, or we also call as an exception. That is which makes totally opposite ruling to the main rule. That is called exception rule. In exception rule, what it says that seller is liable. Seller is now becoming responsible under the doctrine of caveat emptor. Now seller is responsible. At all these times we are discussing about buyer. Buyer alone is responsible for making wrong judgments and choices. Buyer is responsible for meeting the goods for which the purpose for which the goods are being bought. Buyer has to make a proper and a very clear inspection, be cautious, more careful in buying goods. This is what we discussed about the principles in caveat emptor, buyer responsibility. Buyer alone. Whereas exception category, seller is now responsible under doctrine of caveat emptor. Seller is liable, not the buyer. Seller is responsible. What are the circumstances? There are 4 circumstances where seller is responsible. Buyer makes a purpose known to the seller. For example, if the buyer makes a purpose known to the seller has to sell only the goods meeting that purpose. He cannot sell the goods which are not meant for that purpose. For example, if the buyer has a house, a birthday ceremony of his son or a daughter, of his or her son or daughter, he is going to have a birthday ceremony at house. What is happening? The buyer goes to the seller and asks for 1,000 small lights. You find it in the Gulu kind of a function where in all the steps of the idol we have small bulbs, which are small bulbs, right? So those small bulbs he is asking for 1,000 quantity just to decorate the entire house lightened, just to celebrate his son's or daughter's birthday function. The seller now gives him 1,000 small bulbs, but 200 or 300 of the bulbs are lighting, whereas the other things are not working properly. It is in a fused condition. Is the seller responsible now? Yes, because buyer when he goes to the shop, he has already communicated to the seller that he is needing the bulbs for birthday function of his son or daughter. If he tells clearly to the seller the purpose why he is buying the goods, the seller having known and receiving clearly on his part the purpose why the buyer is buying, seller is obviously bound to sell the goods according to the buyer's obligation, buyer's purpose, buyer needs. He has to satisfy. Otherwise, the seller will be responsible by giving wrong goods or misdescribed goods or faulty goods. So, seller is responsible when the buyer makes the purpose known to the seller. If he makes a very clear indication about the very purpose why he is buying the goods, seller has to deliver the goods according to the purpose. Second is, buyer makes the goods of a particular description. He buys the goods of a particular description when the seller deals with the goods of a particular description. For example, a buyer goes to the grocery shop. He goes and wants around 1.5 kg sugar. He goes to buy 1.5 kg sugar. Okay. He goes to the merchant shop. There is a popular annachi available in the particular locality. He goes to the annachi and he says that yes, sir, I want to buy 1.5 kg sugar. So that annachi should deliver only sugar because he is dealing with the goods of that description, that is sugar. Buyer also wants a sugar. Seller also deals in that particular shop the sugar kind of a deal. But what happens is, if the seller shows outside the product as a sugar, but inside he sells salt and he sells the goods salt of 1.5 kg to the buyer, there's an implied problem on the part of the seller because he is trying to give a faulty goods. When the buyer needs a good of that particular description, yes, he needs goods in the form of sugar. Seller also has to deal with the goods of the form of sugar. Yes, he is dealing with sugar, but he is mentioning us as a dealer of the sugar, but he is actually dealing in salt. Or he has sugar dealings, but by willingly is giving salt. In that case, goods of the description doesn't match. So seller is clear that he is to supply sugar, but he has supplied salt. Therefore, he is responsible for loss, or he is responsible to the buyer for giving faulty goods. So, where the buyer knows the purpose made known to the seller, or buyer deals with goods of particular description and buys the same, but the seller also deals with goods of the particular description. Third is, seller commits fraud. Seller commits fraud. What does it mean? There is a particular product which is, if buyer wants to go and buy a pipe which is for using for his bathing purposes or for clothing or cloth washing purposes, etc., he is going to buy a pipe. The pipe with a particular fitted diameter or size and etc., he wants to go to the seller and buy it for that particular purpose. But the seller tries to sell it with a very meager diameter, not exact dimension, not exact measurement, but a measurement lower than that. So the size of the hole is very slow, very meager, that the water doesn't go inside it. What happens is, the pipe is not now fitted for buyer's purpose, because he clearly told that this particular pipe, I need this hole, so much of dimension is there, I need to use the pipe for washing clothing purposes, the water has to flush through it and it has to be coming outside, and we have to use the water for clothing and washing purpose. But from the tank to the washing purpose, the pipe has to be connected so that the flow of water is very serious. very seriously flowing and very continuously flowing, those kind of ships. But the problem is seller has given a pipe, but it's of very meager diameter, not exact dimension, not exact measurements the buyer has told. Therefore, he is said to have committed fraud. Having known that, he has given a very bad and a faulty product which doesn't satisfy the buyer purpose. So, he has committed fraud. So, the case seller is responsible. Wholesomeness, foods for home consumption. What does it mean, foods for home consumption? I am going to use the foods for home consumption purpose. It has to meet it only for that particular purpose. If I am going to buy a product which is wholesome, means ideally it is fulfilling my home needs. I am going to buy a Sabina, I am going to buy a Vim, I am going to use it for vessel cleaning purposes. If I am going to buy a Vim soap, but when I open the soap bursted or the soap doesn't function properly, or it is a case where the soap is available, I am taking the soap, using it for vessel cleaning, but my hands are boiled. Lots of disease kind of thing happens. What does it mean? Which means that the soap is not serving the purpose. Soap is of a bad quality. Soap is of a bad feature. It doesn't function properly. Or even if I take the soap from the seller, but the soap doesn't produce any kind of bubbles, we also call worry. Those kind of things are not possible. So in that case, it is not functioning properly. From functionality aspect, it is not meeting the wholesome needs. In that case, these are the cases where seller will be responsible, because seller should also try to sell proper quality goods. He cannot always escape liability by selling defective goods and take everything on the buyer side, put everything on the buyer side, making buyer responsible. Seller cannot always escape liability. Seller, being the seller of the goods, seller of the products, he has to ensure that he has to sell a very good quality. The main purpose of selling good quality is that people in that locality will come in for repeat purchase with him, so that his image and reputation brand in that locality will go up, and he will actually be a very good seller in the locality. That is the very purpose. As a business dealer, as a seller, he has to ensure that he has to get a good name in the midst of the public. He has to put a good name in the midst of the immediate locality which he is doing his business. At the same time, he has to be genuine and self to himself. To himself, he has to be a good person by selling good quality of the products. He cannot just like give a false advertisement. He cannot just like give a faulty products or in dangerous product which is going to create a harm or a danger or even death to the customer. It is not a good practice. It is not a good business practice on the part of the seller. Therefore, seller being a person responsible for the selling the goods, he has to take proper care, attention to selling the right quality, proper quality, good quality, and very nice goods, so that the buyer is going to come again and again to the seller for buying the goods. Please understand, for the seller perspective, it is not the one-time sales. He has to ensure that repeat sales. That is the success of business. Every time the customer has to come to him for repeated sales, not only one time the sale is made. Therefore, seller has to ensure proper, right quality, quantity of the goods to ensure good name, boost up his image, reputation, and his way of doing the business. The next part of the topic that we are going to discuss about is conditions and warranties. Very important theory question when it comes to the foundation part of it, as well as for the intermediate students as well. Very important topic in sale of goods act is condition and warranty. What does it mean, condition? Condition means a stipulation. Stipulation means a representation in the contract with reference to the goods which are subject thereof. So, goods forms the subject matter of the contract, as I have already told, goods form the subject matter of the contract. So, with reference to the goods, you are making a condition. You are making a representation with reference to the goods. That is called a condition. Please understand, a representation in the contract with reference or with particular identification to the goods that you are making, that statement is called condition. Best example is for a car, engine is a condition, because in a car without engine nothing is going to run. For a car, engine is a primary condition. Seller will say that engine and the car is a good condition, which means that engine has to be in good condition, without which buyer is not going to purchase at all. Okay, it is the main purpose of the contract. It is essential to the fulfillment of the main purpose of the contract. That is what is meant. It is essential to the fulfillment of the main purpose of the contract. Best example is for a car. Seller saying engine is in good working condition. So this is the primary condition. Without this condition, everything others is totally absolute waste. Condition is a primary thing, a representation or statement with reference to the goods being the subject matter of the contract, or in particular identification to the goods being the subject matter of the contract. That representation or statement made with reference to the goods is called the condition. The condition is essential purpose or the main purpose of the contract. For car, seller saying engine is the good working condition. This is the best example for condition. Conditions are warranties. Whenever we say condition or a warranty, what is warranty? Warranty is always secondary to the condition. It is supplementary to the condition. That which supplements, that which holds, that which supports the condition is called warranty. The best example is sales and services. Sales of computer is a condition, whereas services of computer parts, accessories is a warranty. Because you are going to give a warranty for the sales, that is a good sale. You are going to assure that the sale is a good sale. But at the same time, if there is any fault or repair within that stipulated guarantee period, you will be going to give him warranty and support services to ensure, make sure that the sale is a good sale. Which means that you are going to support the sale as a condition by issuing warranty statements, and those warranty will be primarily to support the sales services. Warranties are collateral to the main purpose of the contract. Please note, they are collateral means they are incidental, they are additional, they are supplementary to the main purpose of the contract. That is not main purpose, it is only supplementary. The same example we can take for car. For car, audio player, video player. Okay, those are the warranty kind of thing. We are just going to hear your songs, enjoying while riding, etc. So this is primarily a video fixation of audio player, media player, video player. In certain cars, they even fix a small TV at the top, so people at the back will just watch the TV and go along with the car. Right? These are all those things which are actually supplementary, or even a car repair services can be a warranty. So warranties are those which are supplementary to the main purpose of the contract, whereas condition is anything which is essential to the main purpose of the contract, and it is the main purpose of the contract. Whereas warranty is only supplementary, or that which supports the main purpose is called the warranty. So conditions and warranty can be express or implied. It can be written terms, or it can be through behavior, conduct, or in either mode. So it can be express or implied. Condition. As we say, they are divided into 7 types. 7 conditions which are given under the Sale of Goods Act. Conditions as to title, that which represents ownership of the goods, that is called title. Second is description. What is description? The goods are of that particular nature, the goods are of that particular structure, the goods are of that particular category. That is what is called a description. For example, goods are of sugar, goods are of salt, goods are of eatable quantity, goods are of washable quantity. What is the category? Eatable, washable, drinking, those kind of category, right? Category based classification called description. Sample. Sample means you are going to use a product based on not the full product, but you are going to use it only a sample, only a portion of the product. Best example is, before buying a tea packet, what you do? You are going to buy a tea sachet. You are going to buy a Brooke Bond packet. Instead of that, you are going to buy a small sachet for Brooke Bond. If you are buying a Sunrise or a brew coffee packet, instead of brew coffee packet, there is a small 2 rupees, 3 rupees brew instant coffee sachet which is available, which you can use it. Instead of buying a Head and Shoulders big shampoo bottle, you are going to buy a small sachet of Head and Shoulders which is already or any kind of small shampoo packet which is only 2 to 3 rupees available, which you are going to use it as a sample, but you are feeling this is comfortable to your hair, is comfortable to your overall good being, then probably based on that you are going to buy the entire main product. So there is a sample which is attached to the main product. The purpose is the customer has to first buy the sample, satisfy himself whether it is going to fulfill his purpose, whether it is going to be healthy enough for him, and if it is all getting satisfied, he is going to purchase the main product. Best example is the shampoo and the big product and the sachet packet. The Nescafe, the tea packets are the examples of the things which are coming under the sample. Description and sample. It's a combination of description and sample where you are going to buy the goods of that particular category as well as a sample. Both the combination is called the description and sample. Fitness or quality. It should satisfy the buyer purpose. Fitness means it is of a good quality. It is going to be fit enough. It is going to be healthy enough for the buyer for buying the product. It should not be something that a soap is being, for example, if he goes to the seller, he is going to buy a soap, a bathing soap. The bathing soap seems to be good. From the outside it appears as a green color. So people think that it is made out of neem, it is made out of any medical Ayurvedic product, etc. So they are going to buy that product. But what happens is when they apply that soap into the body, when you are bathing, lots of irritation gets developed, skin gets destroyed, or those kind of things are happening. So you'll have a lot of skin diseases coming. So in that case, what happens? What happens? Obviously, the fitness is not good. Fitness means the healthy aspect of the customer is not taken care. So there is a condition on the part of the seller. That this is very, very important. Fitness of the buyer, the right quality of the product that is being offered is very, very important, because we cannot sacrifice a customer on the grounds of issuing faulty product or unhealthy product, not fitting, not suiting buyer's purpose, not taking care of the buyer's physical health element. So this is very, very important. So goods are of the description and sample. When you are going to describe a particular category, but you are going to issue a different category to the buyer, it is going to be violation. As I said, there is a bag full of coffee, but you are going to say this bag is full of coffee. At the outside, the label of the bag contains 50 kgs of coffee. In the outside of the bag, there is a label which describes 50 bags of coffee, but inside that you are giving 50 kgs of tea. It is not coffee. So in that case, it is violating the description, because outside description has one thing, inside the bag has another thing. Sample. When you are going to offer a particular quantity as a sample, but the sample is not of that particular taste, etc. compared to the product. So your sample also has a violation. In other case, there may be another important thing where you may have a sample, a particular sachet packet that you are buying from the local merchant dealer. For example, the sachet of 3 doses Brook Bond tea, that has the entire tea packet is filled, and the entire sachet should be filled. Literally speaking, the sachet should be a full quantity, entire sachet should be filled. But what happens is the sachet packet is not fully filled. It is saying 5 rupees outside the sachet packet, but inside that, when you open the sachet, when you break open the sachet packet, tear open the sachet packet, it will be only half of the sachet. It is not a full sachet packet. So in that case, your sachet, what is being offered as a sample, it is not full, it is not wholesome, it is only a fraudulent part of it, because it is not full bag of the sachet, it is only a partial bag of the sachet. It is kind of a fraud which is committed to the seller. So samples wise and description wise or a combination wise, it is not satisfying the buyer's purpose. Fitness or quality, which is not taking into element the buyer's health aspect, physical element aspect. So in that case, you are trying to violate it. You are not going to give a good quality product, so that buyer is going to suffer. The product offered is not of a good quality. In that case, it is, if the buyer is going to suffer, thus that's a basic condition. Fitness and buyer's purpose is very important. Then description and sample, description, ownership. The title of the person offering the goods for the sale should be the proper, genuine title. That is very, very important. First point. Ownership of the product is a very important condition. I cannot be a owner of some other product. I has to be a owner of my own product. I cannot sell somebody's product. If I am going to have a bike or a bicycle, I have to be the owner of the bike or the bicycle. I cannot sell neighbor's bicycle for 50,000 and then take the money and run away. He will kill us. He cannot actually do that. I have to be a buyer of the bicycle. I have to be the owner of the bicycle. It is my bicycle, my bike, my car I am going to sell. I cannot sell somebody's car. So title represents the ownership of the goods. It has to be genuine, real, apparent and 100% perfect. I have to be the buyer of my own product. I have to be owner of my own product. Instead, I should not sell somebody's product and claim a title to the goods. A title to somebody's goods. I can own a title for my own goods, but I cannot claim a title for somebody's goods. That is the title part of it. So condition is that I should be the proper owner, I should sell goods of a particular description, and I should sell sample in wholesome quantity, not a half bag sample, trying to irritate the customer, trying to annoy the customer, trying to fraudulent the customer. And then describing and the sample, where the goods are a particular description and sample, it should match both, where there is a fitting or quality for the buyer's purpose, it has to satisfy both, and it has to be mercantilable, means saleable quantity. Mercantilable means that which is tradable, that which is saleable. I cannot sell a product which is damaged condition. I could sell a product which is of a wholesome condition, which has to be 100% perfect condition, good working condition product alone can be sold. For example, there is a child which goes to the shop, but the child wants a toy. It goes and cries to the mother and says, no, I want a toy, I want a toy. The problem is the toy is available in the shop. The toy's head side there is a ear problem, that the ear of the toy is actually in a broken condition. The ear of the toy is in a broken condition. The seller cannot sell the toy as such. He has to replace the toy with a good quality toy and then only he has to sell. Just because the mother comes and asks, he cannot sell a defective toy like a broken ear toy, and then he cannot sell it to the buyer, because he cannot fraud the buyer by issuing a product which is not at all fitted for sale. The sale of the products in a damaged condition, not at all acceptable. Product has to be in a wholesome condition, in a good working condition. A right product, a good quality product has to be sold by the seller, not a damaged product. Wholesome product means all these 5 conditions, 6 conditions are satisfied, is said to be wholesome, complete in all respect, not incomplete, is said to be wholesome. Wholesome condition. So these are the 7 conditions which are prescribed under Sale of Goods Act: title, description, sample, description as well as sample, fitness or quality, mercantile ability, wholesomeness. Warranty has to. Okay. So students, let's go to the next topic, which is warranty. What are all warranty? As I said, warranty is collateral to the main purpose of the contract. It is incidental, ancillary to the fulfillment of the main purpose of the contract. When you say warranty, warranty is divided into 4 different categories. There are 4 implied warranties. We call implied. What does it mean, implied? Implied means that which is evidenced from the facts, circumstances, situations of the case. When you say in a particular case, this is the fact, this is the fact, this is the fact, this is the circumstances, this is a situation. So based on that, the warranties are evolved over a period of time. It has come over a period of time. It has emanated over a period of time. What are all the warranties which are available is warranty from quiet possession, freedom from charge, encumbrances, disclosing dangerous nature of the goods, fitness. There are 4 important warranties which have been evolved over a period of time. The first is warranty as to quiet possession. What do you mean by quiet possession? The buyer, when he buys the product from the seller, he has to be, remember, he has to be underlined absolute owner of the goods, which means that seller should have a good title. It passes to the buyer by virtue of the sale that is made by the seller. Therefore, seller should not sell somebody's goods. For the moment, transfer the goods, take away the money, run away. He cannot do that. Seller has to sell proper goods of his own, which he is owning. He is the right owner of the goods he is selling. Therefore, the effect of the sale made falls on the buyer, which means that buyer faces the consequences. So whenever a sale is bad, buyer has to face the consequences. Therefore, buyer has to enjoy free and quiet possession of the goods. He has to enjoy the goods, he has to take care of the goods as his own goods, and he has to enjoy and keep a right ownership and possession over the goods which he has bought. Therefore, he could not be put into trouble by the seller at a later point of time. So, buyer should enjoy free and quiet possession of the goods, ownership of the goods. Second is freedom from charge and encumbrances, which means that whenever the buyer is buying the goods which he is buying should be free from charge and encumbrance. For example, if A being the owner of the property or a building, it is already mortgaged in favor of some mortgager or a money lender, where A is mortgaged his property already. But the problem is, the money lender says that the money is not paid, therefore he is going to take away the property of the A. But later point of time, in between what is happening, A suddenly sells the mortgage property, having known it is mortgage property, but he has sold the mortgage property to B. Takes away the money, settles the property, takes away the money and runs away. He doesn't settle the mortgage, but he runs away. Mortgager now comes and asks the buyer, who are you asked to buy the property? Because the property is already mortgaged in my side, money lender. Who are you going to, why have you bought the property? So in that case, buyer is put into a problem. Because buyer has now bought the mortgaged property, already a property that is mortgaged in some other money lender's favor. He has now bought it. Even though he doesn't know that fact, but the buyer will be responsible. Since he has bought the product, the money lender will come and ask the buyer, now it is a mortgage property, now that you have bought it, pay me the mortgage amount because seller is not available, I have to ask him. So the buyer will be responsible. So he has to ensure that wherever he is buying, the product which he is buying, property, any other product which he is buying should be free from charge, mortgage and encumbrances. Any kind of outside loan, pledge, those things should not be available in the product. He has to take due sufficient care, caution, and investigate the product. Check whether the product is going to be free from all these charges, outside lending, pledging, etc. Product is absolutely free from all these charges. He knows he is going to acquire in good faith and the product is going to be free from all charge. He can go ahead and buy the product, but he has to make a preliminary investigation into all these cases and find out whether the product is free from charges and outside money lending, those kind of things. Disclosing dangerous nature of the products. Now another point of the thing is the seller has to be very clear in disclosing the dangerous nature of the product. For example, I will take the same example. The mother goes and asks the seller that a toy is needed for her baby. The baby needs the toy for playing. She just keeps on playing the toy. But the seller has to, in that case, the buyer having told that the toy is needed for the baby's playing purpose, seller has to sell the right quantity of the toy, the right quality of the toy. The seller cannot give a bad toy and put a buyer into the problem. The buyer means I let the buyer, mother or either child of the mother, whoever it is. But the problem is, now the seller sells a toy. The toy has a top portion as well as the body portion and the leg portion. The top portion, that is the head of the toy, contains certain acid, burning acid, which is supposed to be sold along with the toy, but fortunately or unfortunately or the other, the seller doesn't take proper care of it. He tried without removing the acid portion, that is the vinegar portion at the top of the toy. He has sold the toy to the mother of the child. The mother has bought the toy and the child was playing one day in the afternoon. The toy was bursted and the acid fell into the eyes of the child and the child's eyes were burnt, and the mother filed the case against the seller and she was able to succeed in the case. Seller, having known that the toy head portion of the toy has an acid element, he should take steps to remove the acid from the toy and then sell the product. But seller doesn't know that fact and seller having known that fact and he knows that fact, but still he has sold the product. In that case, seller is responsible for the damages caused to the child. So the seller also paid the compensation to the mother for meeting the surgery expenses of entirely replacing the face of the child. So this was a popular case in Bangalore. Next is fitness for buyer's purpose. Fitness for buyer's purposes, when I already told, the warranties on the part of the seller to meet the fitness or the buying needs of the buyer. Needs, wishes, the priorities of the buyer has to be met, has to be 100% solved by the seller. Otherwise, there is no point in selling the goods on the part of the seller. The seller has to meet the buyer needs, buyer fitness purpose. Otherwise, sale is of no use. So these are the various 4 warranties which are available. Warranty as to quiet possession, warranty for freedom from charge and encumbrances, disclosing dangerous nature of the goods and fitness for buyer's purpose. These are the 4 important points which you need to remember as a part of your notes. Thank you, students.